Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RVing in New England. And why didn't that come up? Oh, that went up there.
Oh, we're live. We're good.
We're here.
We're good.
Wednesday already.
Should we start all over again?
No, I don't want to start all over again. You want to play the countdown again?
No. I don't mean that. But, you know, your opening line about, hi, everybody, and welcome once again to RVing in New England.
I hit the wrong button. See, I was supposed to hit that button. And if I didn't hit that button, then I probably could have hit that one. But I kind of like this one better. So we are RVing in New England, a feature production of the New England RV Dealers Association. See, that's good. Now, if I could get that to go totally on the right-hand side, I could block you out of the picture. And
you know what? I wouldn't have to dress up. I wouldn't have to look as handsome as I am.
That's true.
And but we'd have a great show anyway. And we've got a great show tonight because I think that no matter what age group our audience is, no matter what age group they are, they're going to enjoy our guest because he has broken all the rules. And the thing that I've found in the media business is that if you break the rules, people like you more than if you follow the rule book. Don't you find that to be the case, Bob?
Yeah. And this is I'm going to let Win Semler tell his own story, but it's a great story because he had a very successful career, and we'll let him tell how he actually got into RVing and becoming an inspector. And, you know, we've talked on occasion about the RV Technical Institute. We've talked about the National RV Training Academy and the National RV Inspectors Academy. And you know, you never can talk about that stuff enough. It's so important. We keep 500,000 RVs a year on the road. We get more and more people with less and less education and knowing less about their RVs.
No, we got more and more people with less education, and those are the people in politics.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I have a fly going around here. So if our background looks a little bit different, I am in Utica, New York, and we're heading out to a state park. And, well, why are you not in your RV, DePietro? Because I found out that the internet at the park is virtually non-existent. So thanks to our friend Mary Simone, we were able to check into a Fairfield by Marriott property here and enjoying it tonight before we do the next 5 or 6 nights in the RV.
Great.
And you know what? That's enough about me. Bob, let's get to our guest.
Let's get to our guest because we've already got them cranking up a bunch of comments and welcomes on the other side. So tonight our guest is, let me see, I got a little banner here for him. Win Semler from RVIS LLC. Win, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
But Bob, he's not just Win. He is a brand new author. And the book just hit the street yesterday. It's available to our guest tonight from Amazon, either the printed copy, if you're traditional, or if you're a high-tech person, you can get a Kindle version or an electronic version, whether it's Kindle or not, I don't know. But either way, Win, we want to welcome you to RVing in New England. And I know you come to us from the northern haunts of Wisconsin, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you both very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
You know, Win,
go ahead, John.
The title of the book is From Retired to Successful Business Owner, to Small Business Owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Hit that word, go into that word retire, because it means different things to different people. And so many times people think of retiring and just doing nothing for the rest of their life. You were at a very young age when you retired, and you know, maybe it didn't agree with your body dynamics and your mental, you know, et cetera. But tell us where you're from. Give us the 30-second elevator pitch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I consider myself a native Chicagoan, even though I was born in Germany and spent some time in Canada as well. So from Germany to Canada to the Chicago area is kind of what my background has been, and lived in the Chicago area literally all my adult life. and that was where my adult working life was spent as well. I spent 30 years in as an information technology manager for a large manufacturer in the Chicago area. Worked also at a consulting company and for a .com startup, and I ended my career at as the chief information officer for a electronics manufacturer in the western suburbs of Chicago. And throughout our working life, and when I say our, I mean my wife and I, we always had a goal, and at least I had a goal, personal goal, of retiring by the age of 60. So I always had, something that I was striving for. And my wife and I, on an annual basis, we used to go away for a weekend on an annual basis and have a little planning weekend and see how we were coming along and meeting our goals. And that goal of mine was always there, to retire at age 60. And by God, I managed to do that. By the time I hit age 60, I did retire. And one of the other things that we wanted to do by the time we retired when we did retire, was to buy a motorhome and travel the country. And that was the next thing that we did. So right after I retired, we shortly after that, we bought a motorhome and started to travel. And that's where the story starts to go from being retired to a small business owner. We traveled for about 5 years. And as anybody that owns an RV knows, you spend a lot of time to look at things that are broken and trying to fix them. And if you don't have the skills to do that, your RV is going to be at a dealership or some other place that takes care of issues. And I kind of got tired of having to do that all the time.
You wanted to go on your schedule and not on the
I wanted my schedule so that I could travel, as opposed to waiting on a dealer or some repair shop to fix things. And so one day, my wife happened to be reading through a motorhome magazine, and she saw an ad in the back of the magazine that said, why don't you come to our class and you learn how to do some maintenance on your own unit. And that sounded pretty reasonable to me. That sounded like it was made for us. We could then take care of some of the things that are bothering us and not have to rely on somebody else. And the old 80-20 rule really applies, where 80% of the things that are problems for you are things that you can probably fix yourself. The other 20% are big enough where you're going to have to call somebody in. But if you can take care of 80% of the things, you're doing pretty good. So anyway, we signed up for the class, and that got us initiated. And when we got into the class, we started learning about some other things, about some business issues that you might be able to wrap around what you're learning and turn that into a business. And it all sounded really good to us. And we moved forward and actually did start our own business back in October of 2015 to be an RV inspection business.
So let me
ask my business since then.
Let me ask you this question. Were you a mechanically inclined person in order to tackle some of those issues on your own RV?
I would say not more than any other homeowner would be. If you're a homeowner, you're going to be, to a certain extent, you're going to be mechanically inclined, because you have to be in order to take care of some of the things that happen as a result of being a homeowner. But I wasn't one of these, and I took care of my car, and did some of the minor things that a lot of people do on their own cars. But I wasn't, a gearhead by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not an engineer. So I never really got into taking things apart just to see how they work and things of that nature. Okay. But so I had some common sense.
Yeah. So okay. Let me take a quick rundown of the roster here tonight. Tim Halbach. Tim, I don't know, we've seen you here before. If not, welcome to the show.
Walter, ask Tim where he's from, Bob.
Yeah, Tim, where are you from, and how'd you hear about us? Walter Swenson's on. We took your name in vain before the show, Walter. I told him that you were another IT professional, shall we say. Jerry Plant, who does his own inspections up on Cape Cod. He's down, I know he's out with his motorhome.
Hagerstown, Maryland. That means he's spent time on 81.
Yeah. So were you next to that river that you posted today, Jerry? And how was the weather down there after all these torrential rains? Mark Polk from RV Education 101. Hello, Mark. Lisa's on tonight. Hi, Lisa. She likes our haircuts, John. Yeah, I gave John his haircut, and he gave me mine. Kevin Scott, I broke the rules and got a ticket. Uh-oh. I don't know, Kevin. Do you know Kevin Wynn?
No, I do not.
No. I was talking before. I said people relate to you more if you broke the rules as opposed to play by the rules.
Yeah. Okay.
Kevin.
Dante Westvignani from Wyndham, Maine is on. Hello, Dante. Gary Moody, good evening from Colorado. Jerry says, I've been averaging 2 inspections a week. A week? Jerry, you're so good, I'd expect you to be doing 2 a day. Greg Bitto. Hi, guys.
He also has a job.
Well, that's true. And Ryan Hadley's on. Ryan's one of our great independent techs up here that we refer all the time to. And Ryan, I think I sent you 2 more prospects this week, so hopefully you were able to help them out. And Frank Cates back from the Cape. And yes, internet was poor there, but I'm home and y'all coming in strong now. Okay, Mark Polk. Hi, Greg. Glad to see you here. Greg Bitto. There we go with the side conversations. Watch that stuff, Polk.
Yeah,
we don't allow that. Jim Turntime. Where'd he go? I lost him. Oh, there he is. No, good evening.
Go above him.
From West Sullivan, Missouri. When you're traveling, when you go by West Sullivan, Missouri, Jim owns and is developing and will soon be franchised a thing called the RV Self Park. Totally automated. Totally automated. No human beings, including the pumping, the water, electricity. Great concept. I can't wait.
Bob, you missed one of his fellow Badgers there from Ashland, Wisconsin. Is it Lucia Haskell?
Lucia Haskell.
Is that somebody you know?
It's not. No, it's not.
Oh,
okay. So we got 2 Badgers in the same place.
Bernie Colleton's on. Gentlemen, sorry for the late arrival. Great crowd tonight. See what I said, when they come in late, they apologize. Good thing, Bernie, will shut your radio program off. And who'd you have on for a guest this morning? I didn't catch it. So Tom Barnhart, evening. Tim says new fan, Houston, Texas. And
got an email.
An email.
Oh, must have been from RV
oh yeah, Stephanie Henson
Cooper
down at NRVTA and NRVIA did a newsletter or did a bulletin out to people to let them know that Wynn was going to be on. Stephen Butler, retired IT manager, have ordered the video training course. Great.
There you go.
Pat Hawes, hey guys, great to see you all. Have you met Don down at the ranch? Don's been on the show before. Gabriel's back on again. Winston, good evening, guys. Chris Andro, hey, guys. Long time no see. Hope all is well. Yes, it is a long time you haven't been here, but I know you're camping, so that's okay. Chris is one of our great dealers up here in New England, Hemlock Hill RV, who actually, guess what? He actually does work and play with the stuff he sells. He goes camping all summer with his brother Jason and the family and their kids, and they have a great time. So he's in the campground as often as we are.
That's awesome.
Rob Wilhelm, good to see you.
Hello, Rob.
That's one of yours. That yes, fan club? All right. Tom says, I am looking into becoming an RV tech inspector. I am also retired. Well, then this is the program for you.
Mark Anderson,
Mark Anderson. Tim Wynn turned me on to this business when I was first starting out. I've ordered the book. Great. Bernie Colleton. Oh, yeah. Mark and Julie Bennett were on All Things RV with Bernie this morning.
Yeah, but we had him last week.
We had him first, right? Yeah.
We had him first.
Tim says yes. NRVTA. Melvin Haynes. Good evening from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Bob, let me interrupt for 1 second.
Certainly.
I think it's important to point out that even though Wynn didn't do this till he was retired, and this other gentleman said, Mr. Barnhart said, I'm retired. This is not something that you have to wait for to retire.
Great point.
So we want to make you all aware that this might be something, and again, if you're mechanically inclined, even better. If you own an RV, even better. But if it's something that you want to do just to buy a new unit or to buy your first unit, you can take these courses. They're available at a wide variety of different places. But at the same time, don't put off till tomorrow, like I used to do with studying for exams. What you could start picking up with on a part-time basis. So you don't have to full time.
That's really a great point, John, because you know, this is a career that you can really develop, and especially if you form your own business, and you really are, you know, just like any other business owner, it's going to be as successful as you want to make it. And if you hustle and you do the things that you need to do to make a successful business, you can be extremely successful, and you can earn yourself a nice salary by doing the inspection business. And if you do it at a younger age, you know, you have this business that you can develop over time, and maybe grow it even larger than it is when you first get started. So your point is a good one, not having to wait.
And another good point, and you'll notice, Win, that I make most of the good points in the show. Bob Zagami, he's kind of like just a technical engineer. But the other thing to keep in mind is if you can make it up in the middle of nowhere, right, Win?
Yeah.
Imagine if you were in an area that had a large metropolitan area. Now, if you lived in downtown New York City and Manhattan, that's probably not the place to do it. But if you're, I don't know, Win, if you want to get into how many units you do a week or a month, or how much business you turn down or whatever, but it's important to point out that geography is not a determining factor in this.
It's not necessarily a determinant factor. However, population to a degree is.
Right.
You know, so, you know, the larger population base that you have around where you're located, probably the better off you're going to be. You know, when I was down in the Chicago area, and one of our listeners here, our viewers, was Rob, and Rob's a friend of mine, and he lives in the Chicago area as well, and he can vouch for this. There's quite a bit of business there, and not only in the Chicago area, but when you're in Chicago, you're close to Elkhart, and you're close to a lot of the areas that are really just kind of exploding with RVs, and so business opportunities are pretty good. Now, when I moved up here to the Northwoods of Wisconsin, certainly the opportunities weren't as much as they were when I was down in Chicago. But from my perspective, that wasn't a deterrent, because remember, I am retired, and you know, I can do this business as much as I want or as little as I want, and so the volume that I have is enough to satisfy my requirements and to keep me active and to keep me busy. You know, and I'm not looking at this as a life-sustaining event. You know, I'm not relying on this income in any stretch of the imagination, you know, to be my sole support. So, but it's something that I find fun.
You're not building the business, so you're not looking to hire out 3 or 4 more people and grow it 10 people
but
down the road.
To John's point, if I was younger, that might be something that I would consider. And that's something that, you know, somebody that's young and wanting to come into this field, they ought to consider that, because there's distinct possibility.
I think it's also important to point out, Win, that when you started this business, the word COVID didn't exist. So, you know, like, how much has your business changed in the past year since the COVID stuff, and the run on RVs has, you know, started and continues to this day?
There has been an increase, most definitely. You know, the number of calls that you get that I get at least, has gone up considerably in terms of people asking for an inspection. The number of people that actually want an inspection has gone up, and it's kind of across the board, whether it be you know, an older RV, a used RV, or a brand new RV. It doesn't really matter. I've gotten requests for both, and I do both. So you know, it has definitely spiked up.
Bob, we have a million comments there. I don't know if you want to get back to those.
Let me jump back in here. I think I stopped off at Melbourne there in Raleigh. Scott got the email. He's in Tucson. He's going to NRVTA for the inspector program in October. Ron Reagan, home inspector who loves RVs, and I'm interested in becoming an RV inspector. I think
there you go.
A great transition. I don't know why all home inspectors don't also put out an RV inspector shingle and mix and match. In your community, Win, do you find other inspectors that have done that?
I have not, but it's not a bad idea from a business perspective. Okay.
So Jody DiGaetano New to page
Yeah,
and
so she's got to be good.
Her husband is a certified RV inspector, and I help manage the business. Okay. Tony Barthel, doggone internet, my apologies for not only being late, but also missing quite a few episodes due to lousy road Wi-Fi. But Tony, don't forget, all of our shows are archived on the site. Just go up under videos, and every show we did for the last 4.5 years, so that ought to keep you busy for a while. Tony Powers, hello from Monroe, North Carolina, going full-time in next year. Ordered the book and plan to attend the school and take all courses in Texas. Jody says, my husband does inspections on the side between work shifts, works 48 to 72-hour shifts, and he will use the earned money to get to retirement faster. Fantastic. Right. Michelle Rowland Pierce, hi, RV owner. Does that say hi?
No, hi.
RV owner.
Hi, I'm an RV owner that found out about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Able to inspect my own rig, and that's true. Be able to inspect your own one. And
she's at FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx. Okay. Don says you can even get a home study course. That's right. NRVTA has that home study course if you want to study at home. And that's another great way to do it. Jerry Plant, even after purchase, inspections are important. Elkhart and the dealers miss a lot.
A lot.
And they do. In fact, when you told the story earlier, you know, some of the inspectors and the independent techs down in Florida that are being kept very busy by the large dealerships, such as Lazy Days. So there's other opportunities.
Absolutely.
I think when we talked, you had mentioned that you had done some work for a dealer also.
Yeah, I did some work for a dealer in the Chicago area. It was the dealer that I used to store my RV at. And one day I got a call from somebody that wanted to buy a used trailer from this particular dealer, and they contracted with me to do an inspection there. So I went to do the inspection, and being that I stored my RV there, I was familiar with the owners, and you know, I went in there and got started. And during the course of the inspection, the owner came by a couple of times just to see how I was doing, and everything went fine. And I got a call a couple of weeks later from one of the owners, and he asked me if I'd be interested in doing some work for the dealership. And I said, well, what did you have in mind? And they said, well, we'd like you to maybe do some walkthroughs for units that when we sell them and our customers come in to pick them up, maybe you can do the walkthroughs for us. So that's what I ended up doing. I worked for them for several years, primarily on weekends, just to walk through the units with the people that were picking up their brand new units. And that was kind of a fun engagement. And every now and then I also filled in on the sales floor and actually sold a couple of RVs as well. So I got a taste for both sides of that coin. Yeah.
Let me see what Lucia says here. I am a 57-year-old female who will start my next chapter in 2 years after my last child graduates and plan to take this course. I am mechanically inclined, so this will be fun, and I'll be full-time RVing. Can't wait. There are a lot of women. This is an incredible career for women, and we send a lot of women through the RV Technical Institute. A lot of women go through NRVTA. There are a lot of women who are doing RV inspections. No reason not to. And then Walter Swenson adds in, and then when you get trained and you know how to fix all these things, and you got your other ones, do like Walter and buy a second unit that he puts out to RV Outdoorsy, and he fixes all his own stuff. So you can rent one on the side and keep that going too.
Yep. Hey, Bob, before we've just got a few more of those. I know you want to read those, but if you could tell us, like you told us off camera earlier, tell us a little bit about your price range so people know what kind of dollars and cents are involved in this. And, you know, it may prevent people from taking a job at Home Depot for $12.50 an hour when they can do this and probably find it a little bit more lucrative.
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, each inspector is his own independent, his or her own independent business. So the pricing that I'm going to give you is the pricing that I've developed for where I am. That doesn't mean that it's going to be the price that somebody's going to pay in you know, in some place in Iowa or Wyoming or wherever. The prices are going to vary depending on what, you know, the old supply demand business model applies to inspections as well. But in my case, what I charge for a Class A inspection, whether it be a gas or diesel, I charge $895 for that inspection. And it goes down, steps down a little bit from there. A Class B, $695. A Class C, I charge $795. For a fifth wheel, I also charge $795, and for a travel trailer, I charge $695. And what I'm charging that, or what I get, or what the customer gets for that, is my full scale inspection of well over 100 inspection points, which typically takes me, depending on the unit and depending on how it's equipped and the number of options and things of that nature, it can take anywhere from 4 to as many as 9 hours if you're dealing with a high-end luxury Class A diesel pusher. That can be, you know, 8, 9, 10 hours if you really get into a lot of different things that you might never have seen before, or if it's just got a lot of different things in it that need to be checked. So that's kind of where I'm at. You know, it's kind of almost a full day by the time you get up in the morning and drive to your location. And I really must add, you very rarely, as an inspector, you very rarely do something in your own backyard. You almost always have to drive, you know, some mileage to get there. In my case, I'm almost always driving 100+ miles, either one way, sometimes more than that one way, to get to the inspection. And so you've got maybe 2 hours up front in the morning to get there, a 6 to 8 hour event while you're there, and then another drive back home again. And then you've got to put the report together and get that out to the customer. But the way I look at things, the way I price things, you know, you can price something at, let's say, instead of $895 for a Class A inspection, you do it for $595. Well, you might get a lot more business, but you're going to run yourself ragged. And if you look at it on a per hour rate, which is what I did, you know, I broke it all down and I said, how much money do I want to earn per hour? And to make it worth my time. And I kind of explain that in my book. I kind of go through the matrix that I used to determine my pricing. And, you know, so that's how I developed my pricing, just based on what I wanted to earn per hour.
Okay. You know, it's very important also that, again, the geography is vital, because, you know, if you've got a big metro market, you could do sometimes 2 in a day.
Yeah.
Again, depending upon what it is, and not just have all that travel time. So look at Walter Swenson writes, "You're not charging enough." We've got some other comments here. Jerry,
let me see if I can figure out where I left off. Gary says, "I already have classes scheduled for inspection technician, solar, and generators starting in September at NRVTA." Lisa says, "Dito Lucia, this is my next journey. However, not really mechanically inclined. I make killer scones, perhaps. I can barter." I don't think so. She's going to look into it, though, as soon as possible. I'm ready to roll. Bill Nairn says, "Does the home course only cover you for your own RV repair, or are you a certified tech doing the home course?" I'm gonna let Win take that one.
That's a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but as far as I know, the home course does not certify you as a tech.
No, it does not. And Jody says, "It's not that difficult, Lisa. Maybe partner with another tech nearby, and for jobs you aren't able to do, trade off, or reach out to Facebook groups for help. There are so many people online at any given time of day. I also have the home course and plan to get my certificate within the next 12 months. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and a lot of different types of courses that you can take, because a lot of them are taken at the National RV Training Academy, and then you get your certifications and you go through several different courses there.
Correct.
With that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that an inspector is different than a certified tech.
That's correct.
So
okay, Jerry,
even though we've talked about both of those, we shouldn't confuse the
Jerry
two.
Plant, who does his own inspections and very well qualified. He works for Majors RV up here in Massachusetts. He's just wondering how much you do on a diesel motor. So are there certain key points or things that you look for when you're doing a diesel pusher?
On the diesel, the question sounds like it is, what do I do? How do I inspect, or what do I inspect on the motor itself?
I think so.
And and really, there's not an awful lot that you inspect on the motor, other than checking the oil, checking to see what kind of condition the belts, if they're visible, things of that nature, checking the fluids, making sure that they're okay. We are not certified diesel mechanics by any stretch of the imagination. So we're not repair techs by any stretch of the imagination. But we run the engine to make sure it sounds good. We do make sure that the fluids are good. Like I said, check the belts, check the radiator, things of that nature. We can also do, or I also offer fluid sampling, where I'll take a sample of engine oil or engine coolant or transmission fluid, as well as generators. And that sample gets sent into a lab for analysis, which then gets transferred back to the customer so that they can identify whether or not there are some looming issues in whatever fluid was sampled, so that they can take care of it if there is a problem.
Is that part of the 895, or is that part of your?
That would be, no, from my business model, I've structured that separate. Those are separate items. If you want fluid samples, I charge $79.95 for one fluid sample, but I bundle them. If you're bundling them with an inspection, I charge less. All my pricing is on my website. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I offer discounts if you bundle multiple fluids with an inspection.
Okay. And there is the website right there, RVISLLC.com.
That's it.
RV Inspection Service LLC.com.
Jerry says almost no one waits for fluid analysis. Not sure how you mean that, Jerry, because in most cases you're sending it out for analysis.
Yeah, it has to get sent to a lab, and the turnaround time, could be anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 days before the fluid samples get turned back in. And in some cases, in the environment that we're in right now, if you don't buy the coach today, the seller has got another buyer that he's got in his back pocket that'll take it tomorrow.
Well, so I've heard that people are passing on the inspection.
They are, yeah, they are. And so, sometimes people, they would like to have the fluid sample performed, but they can't wait for the results and fear that somebody else is going to buy the unit out from under them.
All right, Chris has got a question here from a dealership perspective. He says, what test, let me put it up on the screen. I don't have to read them all. What testers and tools do you use? For example, how do you check the brakes and lights on a towable?
Okay, check the brakes and lights on a towable. I have something called a mutt tester, which is something that I bought. Some people make them themselves, but it's a little battery that I have, and I plug it into the 7-pin connector on the trailer, for example, and there's a dial that I can rotate that checks all the lights. Then I go, check the directionals, check the running lights, check the brakes through that tester, and all I need to do is make sure that I keep that battery charged, and I'm in good shape.
Okay.
Some of the other tools, I don't know if there was another part of that question, but there's a manometer that you use to check the water column on your LP lines. The other tool that's probably the most used is a multimeter, and that's really about it. Some drills, some screwdrivers, things of that nature.
How often, because I've got 30 dealers here in Nervda, how often do you get calls from dealers looking to have you inspect something that they might be taking in trade, something that they may want to resell, or how's the communication between the independent inspector community and dealers in your area?
Well, you know what? I'd love to get calls like that, but we're not getting calls like that. I don't know that any inspector is getting calls like that from any dealer. In many cases, it's quite the opposite. The dealers, in some cases, are not even allowing us on their lots. So that's a little bit problematic. And we're trying to do whatever we can do to make that relationship between inspectors and dealerships a much stronger one, because it benefits everybody. Ultimately, it benefits the person that's buying the unit, but if the dealer can sell something to a customer that's reliable, that customer is going to come back to that dealer to buy another one. And it's a given. The statistics show that most people that own RVs own 7 of them over the course of their camping lives, if you will.
Yep.
So if you buy one from a dealer and you're satisfied with the way that dealer treated you, you're going to come back to that dealer and buy another one.
Yep. Yep.
And when of all the inspections and services that you've provided, or let me ask you this: as part of your service, do you give a suggestion, yes, a buy or don't buy, or you just give the results and let the client figure that out on their own?
Well, that's a really good question and an interesting question, because it's one that you get almost every time. If your buyer is with you, which doesn't happen all the time, especially in today's environment. Nowadays, most of the time your buyer is a couple thousand miles away from the actual unit and may have never even seen it. But if the buyer happens to come and is available to be at the inspection, they almost invariably ask at the end of the inspection, would you buy it? That's almost always the number one question that they ask. Yeah. And my response to that is, I'm not going to give you an opinion. I'm here to inspect the unit. I'm going to give you the information that I found, because I'm doing an inspection of the unit as I see it on the day of inspection. I'm going to tell you what I find that's wrong with it. I'm going to tell you the things that are maybe optional and good with it. And then you're going to have to make the decision. It's not one that I want to get in the middle of, because I don't want to put myself in a position where you told me this was a good unit to buy and I took it off the lot and it fell apart. And,
well, that's a good position.
That doesn't look good for me. And, and I don't want to be subject to a lawsuit, so I just avoid that question and, let the inspection speak for itself.
Well, when I do my seminars at the consumer shows and I talk about RV inspectors, the way I present it may be all wet, but it kind of works. I look at, you hire an inspector. So the person wants 200 grand for a diesel pusher. You hire an inspector, you spend $1,000, and then he gives you a report. And then you do a little estimate of what it would take based on what you are saying it needs. Maybe you go out to a shop and get an estimate. And if all of a sudden those repairs are going to cost $20,000, then in my mind, the $200,000 diesel pusher just became $180,000, and throw the $1,000 in because I had to tell you what was wrong with your coach.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let me.
Some really good questions.
There are some great.
Will, as this book gets out there, you'll go on more and more shows, but none of them will be like ours.
Yeah, when what I will ask, and we do ask this of all of our guests, and we are lighting up the switchboard here tonight, but I do ask that either later tonight or tomorrow at your leisure, go back in to the show, because it's archived on our site, and go back through the comments and answer the ones individually that we didn't get to tonight, or that you will comment further on. We love to have our friends do that. Let me see where. Let's see, Tim, the home course is for your own benefit. That's right. Chris, the testers. Walter, you're not charging enough. Would love to hear about. Tony Powers says, I would love to hear about your experience afterwards. I am going for all classes next year. Well, pick up the book. That's one way to do it. The solar device that fits in a small ammo can, you can plug in and test the running lights.
Yeah.
Jerry Plant mentioned that exactly on the analysis. Tim, he means most want to make a split-second decision. Okay, Tim was validating that people don't want to wait. Jerry says, is there a link for the tester? Maybe you can add that.
Yeah, no, it's there.
Huh?
It's there in the next one.
There now? Okay. The mud tester. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, somebody already answered?
Yep.
Hey, Bob, I think it's important to point out that we've got so many new visitors. I mean, this is a much larger show than normal. That, folks, we do this show every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And this is the middle of our 4th year doing it. So we've got a few hundred shows that are available at the Facebook page, New England RV Dealers Association. So many topics, so many different topics, virtually anything to do with buying an RV, researching before you buy an RV, fixing an RV, and so many of the guests were people that told us where they traveled. And so many people now are starting to tell us about how they've developed a business from their RV life. So you can look at all of those archived units at this same page.
Let me add to that, John. If you're on the page right now because you're watching the show, go up to the very top of the page. You'll see a couple of menu items. Click on videos, and when you click on videos, you slide down and you'll see all the RV in New England shows for this year, for last year, the year before. They're all cataloged by year, and you'll see all of the other videos that John and I have done over 2.5 years.
4.5. 4.5.
What did I say? 2.5?
Yeah, 4.5.
Okay.
So the other thing I'd like you to do, folks that are watching possibly for the first time, just type in over on the right where it says "comes." Yeah, just, you don't have to tell us anything about yourself, but just tell us where you're watching from, because it's always interesting to see the great diversity that there is in not necessarily our audience, but RVers. And if you're a newbie in the RV business, not in the business part of it, but if you're new to RVing, you'll find that so many RVers are willing to share their expertise.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
You know what? Some of it's good expertise and some of it's bad expertise.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
So Michelle's in Pawnee, Oklahoma. Tim's in Houston, Texas. Jeremy's in Louisville, Kentucky. Jerry Plant says he just ordered the mutt tester. Beats the hell out of the signal generator I've been using. And that's for an experienced guy. So see, that was well worth it. Jody says the inspection report becomes a great negotiating tool.
Yeah.
But we never give our opinion. Same thing that Wynn said. We simply state our insurance. Insurance doesn't allow us to make any recommendations. Short and sweet. Sounds right. Jim Roy joined us late and apologized, so you can come back again next week, Jim. Thank you. Jim does Silver Moose restoration, Airstream restorations up in Monmouth, Maine. Rob Wilhelm. Many dealers might tolerate an inspection. They most likely. Let's put this up here. Many dealers might tolerate an inspection. They most likely won't openly recommend one. Most dealers spend a limited amount of time checking a very limited number of items. It's into the buyer to do their due diligence. And you're right. You've got to become an informed buyer. And if you're an active RVer today and you don't realize how busy the industry is overall, that's not an excuse for being sloppy. It's just that it's going to take you a lot longer. The number of RVs that we're selling, the number of PDIs, the walkthroughs that they have to do on a weekly basis, number of third-party sales that are out there. Yeah, it's busy. That's
busy. But you can't use that as you shouldn't use that as an excuse for not doing the quality checks that you should be performing. And you'd be amazed at how many issues we find on brand new units that have gone through the dealer's PDI. And we're still finding major problems in some cases.
Yep. There's been stories like that. Yep. It's all about liability. So Gary's got a question. Here's a good business question for you from Gary Moody. When you first started, how did you advertise yourself and your business?
You know what? My advertising, I've only used one source for advertising. other than my website. And I had my website built actually before I started the business, but then once I actually formed the business, I went live with it. But Facebook has been my primary source of advertising. And then, once you've been doing it for a few years, the word of mouth starts to kick in, and we've got some great tools on the internet now. Not only NRVIA, but there's a couple down in Florida that have developed a great site called My RV Resource that lists all of the inspectors in the country. So there's a lot of different ways that people can now find inspectors that weren't available right away. But things are becoming much easier to find nowadays than they were at first. Before we go on, can I just make an acknowledgement of a couple of individuals, especially in light of my book that just came out. But I would really like to acknowledge two people that have played a key role in the events that transpired to get me to the point where I started the business, and that would be, huh?
Talking about Bob and me.
Yeah, maybe after this show. Yeah. I'm talking about Terry Cooper, Terry Cooper, and Steve Anderson.
Yep.
Cooper, you guys, I know you know them both. I think Cooper now is the owner, along with Steve, of the NRV Training Academy, and he was the one that trained me or gave me my education when I went through the training down at a campground in Southern Illinois. And I'm very thankful for the fact that he was my teacher, and I consider him and his wife friends. Same with Steve and his wife. Steve is the owner of Work Camper News, president of Work Camper News, and also a partner with Terry in NRVTA and NRVIA. And Steve is the one that kind of turned me on into making this into a business, and that was why I asked him to write the introduction to my book, and he was kind enough to do that. So I'm very appreciative to both of those gentlemen for the efforts that they put forth to kind of turn me in the direction that led me to start the business.
That's fantastic. Always nice to acknowledge those that help us along the way, and we firmly believe in that.
Jody, we have more comments here than we have time for.
Jody mentioned that she hasn't advertised at all other than creating a Facebook page. We've been promoted by the NRVIA website and the RV resource page also, as well as the home gauge page. And I'm not familiar with the home gauge page, but Chris, in response to your dealer comment, and I agree with Chris, a good dealer will find the major issues before it's delivered. We do. They do a great job with their customers. They've been there for years, and they have a high level of customer retention and response. So, but there are some that don't, and that's what makes the need for inspectors out there, and certainly more inspectors. Jamie, what'd you say here? Jamie's at Riverbrook Campground in Rumney, New Hampshire. Okay. So did I miss anything else? One of the things that I did do today was, this is a page from if you go onto the NRVIA website or RVinspections.com, you can find an inspector anywhere in the country. So just for the hell of it, I went through and said, what do we have in New England? So we have Craig up in Bangor, Maine. We have Teresa up with Road Trek down in the Groton, New London area of Connecticut. We got D'Angelo Godby Enterprises in the New Haven County area. And we've got John with New England RV Inspections up in the Lee, Stratford, New Hampshire area. That's only 4. That's only 4 that are listed on the site for all of New England. So obviously the opportunity is there. I mean, if you talk to Terry and Steve, they'll tell you we need 3,500 inspectors around the country. Because one of the things through all this, and why I get excited about this program, is at some point in time, an RV inspection is going to be required by the banks. They just can't keep passing up on this. You saw what happened with home inspections. You cannot buy a home without an inspection. and they're giving out some of the loans on RVs are higher than some of the loans on houses.
Absolutely.
Think about what people pay for RVs and a pre-owned RV. You know, what if you're buying a pre-owned Prevost bus conversion at $500,000?
Hey,
I mean,
look at it this way. Hardly anybody will buy a house without getting a home inspection, and even new houses get home inspections because there's so much that can go wrong. Now, in an RV, in most RVs, you got pretty much everything that you have in the house, but it's hidden. So much of it's hidden because of the way they have to build the RV.
It's hidden, and in the case of a used one, it's had a few miles on it where it's been running down the highway at 70 miles an hour, and things have a tendency to work their way loose and rumble around and break and whatever else.
Exactly.
Jody got a comment about the inspections. We were the only RV inspector for a 250 to 500 mile radius for the first whole year. Now there are 3 there. Any other inspectors that are on, let us know, because I know a lot of our independent and mobile techs do a lot of advertising on Facebook, but are there other options for people?
Hey, Bob, can you take that book link, put that book link and put it over in the comments on the right so it's live?
I will do that, yeah.
Because right there, you have to copy it.
Don knows where the brains are behind the
operation. There you go.
Right, Win?
Yep.
Kathy Jo Anderson and Yvette Cooper are the bosses behind the scenes. Right. Let me put the John, ask a few questions. I'm going to go up and put that link.
Yeah, exactly. So,
go ahead.
Go ahead. You had a question.
I was going to say, I hope people don't get the wrong impression of what an inspector is out to do, because we're really not. At least I can only speak for myself, but I hope other people feel the same way. But, I'm not really going out to intentionally trying to find problems, because that's not what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to make sure that the customer is getting a unit that is going to be reliable, that works for them, and that they can count on that everything is working. That being said, if I find problems, we're going to document it. But it's not our intent to try to
kill the deal,
try to squash the deal, or
your job is not to kill the
buyer
deal
and a seller.
Right. That's why I asked that question earlier about, do you offer a yes opinion, a no opinion, or no opinion?
Yeah.
And et cetera. And I think it's important to point that out because, again, go back to the home inspector. All they do is they give you a list of the issues. They don't say, well, here's a point that's going to cost you a lot of money, and I wouldn't do it because of that.
Yeah.
So,
So when I find the points, I lay them out and I tell the people what it is. I tell them, that they probably ought to have it checked, and then they can use that as a negotiation point with the seller, and they can then either decide to have the seller fix it, or they can decide, lower the price by X amount of dollars, and I'll live with that and take care of it myself. Or in some cases, these things are just too complex and too expensive. I'm just going to walk away from this deal. That's happened on more than one occasion.
So Joe put a good comment there. We're only making sure the customer is fully informed so they can get the best price for what they are buying.
That's absolutely right.
We'll pay the best price, and the owner too.
And she says sometimes the owners do not even know something is wrong, but we find it, and they are more than willing to fix it. We offer them a punch list or negotiation ammunition.
That's correct.
Hey, Win, it's important to point out also that you just didn't fall off the potato truck, and you've been doing this for what, 6.5 years or
almost 7 years, yeah.
Roughly, how many inspections have you performed?
Oh, probably a couple hundred. I don't count them, but somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay.
And my numbers are probably going to be lower than a lot of others. I mean, there's a couple down in Florida that probably do at least one inspection a day, maybe even 2 a day in some cases. So they're probably in the thousands by now. And when you look at what my pricing is, I don't know what their pricing is, but at $895 for a Class A, if you've got 1,000 motorhomes that you've done, think about what that translates to in dollars and cents from an income perspective for your business.
Sure.
So there's good opportunity to make some fairly decent money.
Yep.
And it's out there for.
Chris asked a question. He says, how much of your business is inspecting private sales?
I would say right now that's probably about 50-50. 50% are private, 50% are at dealerships.
Okay, and Jody says 70% private and 30% from dealers.
How about you, Mark Anderson? Mark Anderson is another one who's in the business.
I've gotten known by several dealers that are now recommending me to their clients when they ask about having an inspection. I'm working in Ohio this week doing back-to-back dealer inspections. That's great. Yep.
Yep. So when anything that's in that book that you would say you absolutely need to read chapter 7 or a must read, because a lot of people buy books and scan them. But what would be the most important aspect of that book?
Okay, probably in my case, I'm just looking at my chapter layout. Chapter 4 I've titled "The Events That Changed Our Lives," and chapter 5 is it worth it? Those are probably the two most significant chapters. In chapter 4, "The Events That Changed Our Lives," I talk about going to the class where I really had intended on just going to this class to learn how to fix RVs for my own use. And then found out that, hey, you know what? I can take this knowledge and translate it into a business. And again, that's one of the things that I want to thank Steve for. Steve truly is an advocate of entrepreneurship and tries to get, with his position in Work Camper News, every work camper is truly an entrepreneur, or could be. And that's what he tries to get across. So that's one of the chapters. And then chapter 5, "Is It Worth It?" where I start talking about, some of the income opportunities that you have and some of the potential that exists in this field.
When we only got about 3 minutes left, Jim Harrison has 2 really great questions. He says, how far will you travel to do an inspection?
Okay, let me answer that one first. There's really not a limit per se. If the customer, because I charge mileage fee.
Oh, okay.
I give 50 miles round trip free. The first 50 miles are free. After that, I charge 75 cents a mile. And if it goes beyond, I think I'm at 200 miles. If I have to go more than 200 miles one way, I also charge an overnight accommodation fee. And I charge a flat fee so that it covers my hotel and meals and things of that nature. Because if I'm over 200 miles away, I'm usually, especially where I'm at, where there's no interstates really, that's 200 miles is going to be 4 hours. And I like to start my inspections no later than 9 a.m., which means I'd have to drive from starting at 5 in the morning. And I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be fresh to start an inspection. So I'll arrive the day before, get a good night's sleep, and get started first thing in the morning to do the inspection and then drive home. So if it's over 200 miles one way, I charge an overnight fee, and I always charge a mileage fee with 75 cents a mile in my case. Some people charge more, some might charge less.
Let me complement that with Judy's comment. She charges $70 an hour for travel. We won't normally drive more than 2 or 3 hours from home. The other question that Tim had was, oops, what did I do?
There already is. There were never used or
something. Jerry Plant does $1 a mile over 50.
Yep.
And it says, what do you do about insurance? How much do you carry? How expensive is it? Are you bonded?
Not bonded.
That's a multiple.
I do carry insurance. It's $1 million liability. And expense-wise, I think the policy that I just recently got about a year ago, I went with a new carrier, and I believe I'm paying roughly $300 a year for that policy.
Okay, that's not bad.
Look at I told you the hour would disappear, and
it did.
It just did.
Hey, Bob.
We probably have to get back. Right, Don?
I think we should tell people that if they're just joining us now, in the last minute of the show, that a minute after the show is over, it's available immediately on replay. So, folks, if you joined us anytime and missed the opening comments about Wynn's background and other important issues like that, feel free to watch it on replay. And we want to ask you to do this. Please share the show, because we've got a good number of watchers, good number of viewers. Share the show with your friends, because you don't know who you help.
A lot of new people tonight. We really appreciate it. And I want to thank Stephanie Henson, because I'm sure she was a big part of that with the newsletter that she sent out today to let people know that Wynn was going to come on and share his experiences, which is very thoughtful of you, Wynn. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we could do some additional shows in the future, but we try to be, Chris Andros says, what is it? Good show as usual. Have a great night. Thank you, Chris. Glad you could get back into the swing of things here. So we will end it. Wynn, I'm going to give you the last word.
Just tell Hawes that I saw his comment. At John's age, you need to do things quickly.
All right. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciated it.
Hey, Bob, put the book back up there, would you?
Yeah.
You can take yourself down. Just keep me up. From Retired to Small Business Owners, available at Amazon. And again, it's available either in print or online. But either way,
that's true.
It's great.
It is. All right, Wynn, thank you very much. Good night, everybody. We will see you next Wednesday. Thanks, John. Good luck on your vacation, your trip up there, and Wynn, safe travels, and we'll catch up to you down the road.
You bet. Thanks a lot,
everybody.
Good night now.
Thanks so much.